don't really particularly like the criticism though.
No, well,
Your voice wavered a little, like, hey man, why don't you get it together?
Yeah, well, we are running a professional show. This is season 5, and you're still not quite there in terms of your technical
There's a
prowess.
there now.
Oh, there's
We've never discussed.
a baseline. We have some serious guests
Baseline?
these
What?
days.
I'm not below the baseline, below the Mendoza line.
Mendoza line, Mendoza,
Mendoza.
Salmon Puff. That's a different show. That's Springton. One day you guys
One
are
day.
watching these.
We're
will
just
be
going to talk
treated
only
to,
in Simpsons quotes to you.
It'd be pure nonsense, and you'll
All
truly
right.
understand where our heads are at.
When he accepts the salmon puff, he goes, "All right,
All right."
all right."
It's not a comedy. Yeah, like the thing is we could talk Simpsons stuff all day long.
But we're not here to talk about
That's
that.
not what this is. We're doing
talk about
Ice
Tank Girl.
Tuesdays. Ice Tuesdays. This is Tank Girl. And as you know, when it's Ice Tuesdays, we talk about iced tea. So Jeff, why don't you show us whatever iced tea you picked up 5 minutes ago?
Wow, you don't like this segment.
I mean,
it's not even
fine.
a segment. I mentioned it one time and we never talked about it again. It's just a fun little piece of flair. But you want this perfect co-host to come in and just be like, yes, I agree with you, Gary. I have my own ideas. I have my own voice.
When you say fun for who exactly?
Me.
Okay, sure. Okay, well, this
am I not allowed to have fun?
No, it's fun. It's fun, totally.
I'm a little on edge this week.
You're a little testy. You need a vacation.
I need some weed. The iced tea that I picked this week is very specific to the movie because it's a giant glass of water.
Are you fucking kidding me?
No, it's fucking genius. That's the whole movie is about water. Why would I add anything to it? It's perfect as it is. Listen, I just want to enjoy water while I still can.
I'm glad we got that segment out of the way. Okay, so Tank Girl. Tank Girl is a movie we watched.
Anything anyone does.
Not particularly, no.
Did you like Tank Girl?
You know what? That's a very interesting question, and I wasn't sure how best to approach it. We watched it twice as we watched these shows, these movies. We watched them twice for these episodes. The first viewing, and I think you felt the same way, I was too high to truly understand what I was watching. I don't confused.
think I know that it was on.
Yeah.
And we had comments and stuff, but I didn't take notes.
I was
and
disoriented.
When I came back and watched it the second time, I was like, this is a wildly different movie than what I remembered from like a couple weeks ago.
I think maybe I was better prepared for it this time around because I sort of recognized that this is like gonzo. Gonzo is the best word I could use to describe it. Sure. Like it's just like it is a gonzo film. And if you're not familiar with the source material, which I am not, then there are things that I'm missing right off the bat, things I'm not going to catch right off the bat. And that is exactly what happened in that first viewing, was just being completely thrown off. So on the second viewing, I didn't smoke. I chose not to smoke.
I didn't much. And also, having watched it like it was a puzzle that I was trying to put together the first time, all I did this time was relax my brain.
Sure.
The second time, I was just like, well, things are going to happen. And that's really all I need to know. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if you're going to come into this film and be like, oh, I wonder if there's a plot. Don't worry about it. Oh, I wonder if there's a meaning to any of the things that I'm seeing that changed throughout the. Nope. Don't worry about that either. Just enjoy the fact that Tank Girl is fun. That's really it. Now, the things I have questions about all seem to stem from a central theme in like the ephemera I've read and watched about the movie. All point to the fact that like the director made a movie and then Hollywood made a movie out of that movie. That we didn't get the like Tank Girl that we deserved, but we got the Tank Girl that they thought we deserved.
Yeah, the one they thought we would like.
And it is a nonsense Tank Girl. It's nonsense.
We talk about this so many times. We talk about bad movies on our show, where we talk about how a film is made, and then in the editing process, and the studio gets involved, and they get too involved, they hack it to pieces because of test screenings and because of things of demographics. And in a movie like this, there's a lot of sexism that played a role in the decisions, which, especially since it's a movie that existed in opposition to sexism and to patriarchy, that is so much one of the common themes of this film, is that to see it get destroyed by a patriarchal studio system in the way that it was, it's no surprise that this was not a successful film, because even if you were interested in the themes and ideas and the nature of the female leads in this, you were let down repeatedly during that process. You were basically told, no, actually it's not good, but you didn't know that it was hacked to pieces. We only know that with the benefit of 2 decades of internet behind us.
Yeah, exactly.
Nearly 3 decades of internet now.
Nobody who saw this when it came out really knew the pain that went into making this movie bad.
No.
From what I truly believe would have been a good movie.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you some lineage here, if that's cool.
Okay, please.
All right. So the Rippers.
Mm-hmm.
Stan Winston designed the Rippers. Okay. Stan Winston is fucking God.
He's a legend.
Terminator, Aliens, Predator, Tank Girl.
Won Oscars for that shit.
And he believes the Rippers to be on par with all of those movies. And in fact, he made the Rippers in the image of Predator.
Mm-hmm. I totally see that. Totally see that.
They were really heavy costumes, by the way. They looked heavy because they were heavy. The actor said it was like wearing a couch.
There's a scene.
I really love that.
There's a scene where the lead Ripper DT is like in berserker mode, and he's wearing his like mask and the whole gear. And all I can think about is like, if the actor who's doing that is wearing the kangaroo super soldier thing underneath that, that's gotta suck. That's really gotta be unpleasant.
Let's get into the costumes in a minute. Catherine Hardwicke was the cinematographer here, or maybe director of photography, one of the two, or something in that effect.
Okay.
She got the job because the director wanted her, and she had shot Freaked. Do you remember that movie?
No, remind me about Freaked.
It was brought up. I don't want to.
Oh, wait. This is the Alex Winter movie. Oh,
she shot that. And that's how she got the job.
Oh, wow.
So she got the job through Freaked. Wow. Shot it like that, because essentially, like, what can you do with no money? Mm-hmm. We're spending all of our money on costume. The guy that did this, Stan Winston, did this for half of his usual money.
Yeah. And it's still a $25 million
because
budget.
He loved it so much. It was $25 million, but they were like so out of money. They were like, we want to hire people that can shoot crazy shit like on point. We got to be done with this.
Yeah.
And it not cost anything in hours, because they're changing everything all the time.
Sure.
She directed fucking Twilight later.
No way.
Like,
really?
This thing spun people into gold except for Lori Petty.
Yeah. And the actual director. The actual director.
The guy that choreographed the dance scene, the stupid dance scene that has
the
no
Cole
business
Porter
being in there.
1948.
Yeah, the Cole Porter dance scene. Hairspray remake.
Yeah.
Wildly successful.
But the director, Rachel Taladay.
Yeah.
This was like her last movie for like 20 some odd years.
I think she was fed up immediately.
She did television, and she's done loads of television.
Choice. They had I don't know who it was, but they had a female leading punk band. Female-led punk band.
Okay.
Starting the movie. And they had to settle on Devo because they said, it's a movie about a woman already. You can't have a woman leading us in with a voice.
Yeah, you're absolutely right that the tone is, this is a female-led movie. Yeah. And a female punk
Why would
band,
that even be a complaint that like a woman is singing? I mean, I know why, but like.
Yeah. And like, I read that Courtney Love had been tapped as music supervisor on this too. So it's just like you're undermining Courtney Love as well.
I got really obsessed and went down some rabbit holes. Courtney Love was supposed to be Subgirl.
Oh.
And then Kurt Cobain killed himself, and she had to excuse herself from filming. The lead character was not Lori Petty. Okay. Lori Petty auditioned for the role, and they said no. They got somebody else who then refused to shave their head. So they recalled Lori Petty, which was like made the film. What an incredible performance this was.
I can't imagine this without Lori Petty.
Oh no, absolutely not.
I can't. She
Talk
owns
about
that
like
character.
crazy wave. If this had gone well, we would have had Lori Petty in everything because it was Point Break,
A League of Their Own,
Free Willy. This, if this does well, and you've seen kids movies and adult movies and nostalgia movies and wild and archaic nonsense, that's a hell of a resume. But instead, we kind of we saw a fizzle instead of a rise because of this.
It's a shame because she was definitely somebody who was just uniquely talented and was a unique figure at a time when Hollywood's idea of what a woman should be was pretty rigidly defined. And it was unfortunate because then it's like, that's part of the stuff that hurts this movie is like there are entire scenes that were cut out of this film, scenes that provide context, by the way, because
and
they didn't feel Lori Petty was attractive enough.
Jokes. Exactly. No, 100%.
So this was
butchered by a team of morons.
So we're seeing that, and that's killing us the whole time. And it also, but in doing this, it also betrays like a core fan base that like Hollywood now seems to understand the importance of, is the comic book fan.
Or a lot of them have given up and are accepting mediocrity. But one or the other, it doesn't really matter.
Well, look, we could talk about comic book fans en masse being mediocre. I'm perfectly happy to just sort of say the bar is low. But the types of comics that were getting made into movies in the 1990s were actually super fucking interesting. This wasn't just like Avengers. This wasn't like Spider-Man. This wasn't, I mean, yes, you had Batman, but you had fucking Tim Burton.
We didn't really have Spider-Man yet.
No, you had Tim Burton doing Batman.
Yeah.
Spider-Man was a cartoon you saw on Saturday morning cartoons in the 80s. Correct. You had Tim Burton's Batman, 1989, Batman Returns, 92. You had the Schumacher
and the
ones
only
in the
female
mid-90s.
lead superhero in history had been Supergirl in 88.
And you had Wonder Woman.
89, 88? I want to say 88.
Yeah, I mean, like if they're on big screen as well. So like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which it's a movie I want to go back, and we could potentially watch it this season because of Vanilla Ice's cameo, obviously. It might, even if it's just
we'd have to do the second one. We wouldn't be able to do the darker, cool first one.
No.
But I hear
we do the second one where Ninja Rap happens.
Yeah.
So like you get Ninja Turtles in the early 90s, you've got The Crow in 94. Very subversive property. Obviously, the tragedy of Brandon Lee plays into that in terms of its notoriety. Then you have Jim Carrey doing The Mask in 94.
Yeah.
Sly Stallone for Judge Dredd in 95. So like these were all like technically underground indie, if you will, save for the Batman, of course, underground indie properties.
Right.
And it wasn't like bankable, but the idea was like they could do them for a certain budget within reason generally. And then from there, recoup. And with the exception of, say, The Mask, which was just like they took one of the biggest comedy stars of the time and said, be Mr. Funny Man.
Weird. Yeah.
And actually
bend around and be weird.
Departed radically from the comic books in terms of tone. Like I in the very brief period of my life where I cared about comic books, which is like in that sort of prepubescence, early adolescence sort of period.
Sure.
The Mask was super fucking cool to me. But then, and once I discovered girls, so that was sort of the end of it.
Yeah.
But like the point being is that like Tank Girl as a concept had precedent ahead of it. These types of movies had found audiences to some extent, some of them huge, others more modest, but had found audiences.
Yeah.
And it could work. But a lot of these bad ideas from studios bled into it and created huge problems.
I think that if given leeway and leverage, I mean, it's hindsight's 2020, right? But if given leeway and leverage, this team, who like, I think Taladay, was that the way you said her last name? The director.
I said Taladay. And maybe I'm saying it wrong.
Okay, yeah.
Taladay. I'm apologizing. It's like
one way or another.
Although it's funny enough that after having watched this, I had now basically seen nearly her entire filmography, having seen Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare in theaters.
Yeah.
With the 3D glasses.
Not my favorite, but she was like heavy in the crew for the one that I loved the most, which was the precursor to that one, The Dream Child.
Dream Child, yeah.
Dream Child, which is like
it's
on another level to me. Just an incredible film. She worked with John Waters to start her career. So she
Makes
knew
sense.
something about making insane, very like spasmodic films. She was an expert already. Took this comic, which I dabbled, I didn't read a lot, but I've read a little here and there. Is just, there aren't, especially for the time it came out, there aren't a lot of rules.
Sure. And
Just
it's British
like,
too. So
evil things are in the background getting destroyed. We don't know where they came from, what they are. It doesn't matter. It doesn't truly, a lot of things that happen are art for art's sake. And that's perfect for her coming from that background. If she was given leeway, I think this would have been a truly like a film's take on actually making a wild ass comic book. Like, I think a lot of the rules were being eschewed, and unfortunately rules were like all these dudes wanted. They thought they were just signing like, girl comes in, shows off body, blows up stuff, says things dudes would say, and leaves.
Barbed wire.
Yeah, that's what they wanted.
They wanted a barbed wire type film, which they made that was like 97, I think.
Yeah.
Barbed wire comes later, and you get like, okay, we're gonna find it.
That's what they wanted in the first place.
We're gonna find the sex symbol that we're looking for and have that person blow stuff up.
Yeah, instead of like casting, we're just gonna throw somebody in from the TV.
And look, I watch a lot of Baywatch. I watch every week.
It's a fantastic show.
And so like, I get it. I
Dirty Saved exactly by the Bell on the Beach.
Oh, it's just nonsense. It's pure nonsense. So it's great if you just, the whole show is nonsense. Like, forget about like the actual mechanics of an episode.
Totally. That's what I'm saying about Tank Girl.
It's like, ludicrous.
If you just go in and forget and just watch this weird thing they made.
Yeah.
And you know the spirit of it, you can see the movie they wanted to make in your mind.
Right.
And it saves this film a little bit, because if you read anything at all, the first thing anyone says is the studio fucked this up royally.
It did.
They also cut a scene.
Oh, yes.
I know exactly about this. Oh,
I know exactly what you're saying, but our listeners have no idea what you're about to say. Go ahead.
Oh boy. So the Ripper, I forget which Ripper it is.
It's like Booger.
Sort of it's implied that the two of them are sort of falling for each other. Yes. Or at least we're spending a lot of time away from the group.
They just sleep. They're in bed with each other in one scene.
They're like, they lay next to each other a couple times. Like things, it's implied that these people are like, they're into each other. The director went further. The script went further and put a sex scene on the books, which I could not find.
I don't think it exists.
I don't think you can find
in finished form,
but it is confirmed that the creatures were part kangaroo, and one particular part was the penis. This thing had an 11-inch penis in the film, and the people in the production world were like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You're taking out, they're not having sex, and he certainly cannot have a giant penis.
They made a penis. It cost them $5,000 to make this penis. That's what I read.
Well, that dude was getting paid so much to do, like, they put a lot of work into the Ripper costumes.
So there's a line item somewhere that just says like kangaroo dick.
Like we sat down and measured 11-inch kangaroo penis.
Yeah. There you go.
To scale. Like, we scaled it like it would be, a taller, longer, bigger, more human version of a kangaroo penis for $5,000. Have a good one.
Except like, also, wasn't his character specifically also the only Ripper who was originally a dog?
Yes, he was also a dog.
So I'm like, where's the
dog kangaroo human hybrid with a giant penis?
Enormous.
And Tank Girl
penis.
Is like all in.
Tank Girl's into it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, I'm not familiar enough with the source material, and I'm sure that all of this stuff is just in there. The Brits who were doing these comics back in those days, kind of the same wheelhouse as your Judge Dredds and stuff, were like talking about a lot of things and taking a lot of liberties. And again, you see in this film the film this could have been, because they put the work in. They made it look the way they wanted it to look. They had the interspersing of the animated sequences in here, one of the best I've ever seen in terms of how it's done. Once you turn off your brain and sort of say, this is just going to happen and go with it.
This movie, for what it suffers for, which, dialogue, it's so choppy and weird, and a lot of the jokes are cut. And yeah, exactly. They basically just kept in war talk and a few like one-liners.
Yeah.
For what it suffers for, it like wins with weird creativity, which I think a lot of those animated scenes were in there because they couldn't afford to like film a lot of action scenes. They needed to trim money. So they were like, well, we can hire somebody to draw it. It was a comic book. They can draw it in the style of the comic book.
And the comic book people, there were comic book people involved in its creation anyway. Exactly. So it was like, there's a synergy there.
This is an easy synergy. And I liked it somewhat. There were times when I was like, okay, just like introduce these characters. I don't need Tank jumping around and yelling and stuff.
No. There's
also an implication that she beat the crap out of her partner. Subgirl or whatever.
No, yeah. Well, Subgirl is a whole other situation. I mean, like Subgirl will have a bigger plot, and then that doesn't really happen. So you just got Tank Girl. You got Tank Girl and Naomi Watts' Jet Girl.
Yeah, her first real like big role in a big budget movie.
Yeah, well, like good for her. Like she went on to do all sorts of really great stuff and become far well known.
Another one that like blossomed from this film.
Yeah, it was a great beginning. And also actually Australian, for a movie that's based in Australia, we found an Australian in the cast. Although someone's going to tell me she's from New Zealand or something, and then I'm going to have to apologize. So I think she's awesome.
You may as well just apologize now. Just do it on the air.
I'd like to take an opportunity to apologize for misnationalizing Naomi Watts. It was an error on my part.
Allegedly or possibly.
Ignorance on my part, certainly. As an American, I have to do better as I think about the world and my place in it. I will be taking a brief break from the show,
a sojourn
to reflect, and then I will come back and pretend like nothing ever happened. Right after this.
Man, thank you for that. I know that had to be hard for you.
Anna Beck. The soundtrack to this movie is fucking insane.
It's fucking awesome. I am obsessed with the soundtrack. Fun fact on that, at the beginning of the movies, like at its genesis, they had tabbed Green Day to be like a main portion of the soundtrack. And then by the time they like put in a finished product of a film, Green Day had blown up so much they couldn't afford them anymore.
They couldn't pay for Green Day anymore. So they got face to face.
So they got face to face. That's exactly what happened. They went out and they were like, well, who's a semi-aggressive punk band that's on a major label that needs this cash? Face to face. And boom, they got it.
The soundtrack choices are extraordinary throughout.
They really are.
It's like they had absolutely so many reasons to do something that appealed to a younger generation. So you've got Bush on there, you've got Hall on there, you've got, the Magnificent Bastards of Mockingbird Girl, that Scott Weiland side project thing. You have all this stuff. And then you have Bjork is on there, Portishead's on there.
Portishead, yeah.
And then you have the theme from Shaft.
Yeah.
For reasons entirely unknown.
That was I can't understand that decision, other than just to like, maybe at this point they had sort of heard enough. And we're just like, you guys pick a song. Truly, it was like picked out of, it just made no sense. I truly am confused. Like, why would you pick that song?
And then the Cole Porter thing, like that's totally confusing.
Cole Porter, they all like, everyone knew it, which I know that this movie was ridiculous and it shouldn't be taken with like, any real, but that decision is so bizarre.
Do you
I don't know enough about the comic to see why they did it.
Like, again, like I feel like I was reading things in my research about the writers having a certain affinity for like a Benny Hill and certain type of things. So I think maybe there was sort of a desire to go a certain route there. And then I guess, you have like whatever, isn't The Mask didn't have like Mambo Pete or whatever it was. There was some sort of,
Cuban Pete.
Yeah, Cuban Pete.
My name is Cuban Pete. I'm the king of the rumba beat.
When I hear the maracas, they go chick chicky
chick
boom,
chicky
chick
boom,
chicky
chick
boom,
chicky
chick
boom,
chicky
chick chicky
boom.
boom.
Yeah.
Bum, bum.
Yeah. So I hate that, but it's burned in my brain from having watched
Oh
The
yeah, I've
Mask
watched that
at
Mask. I don't know how many times I've watched that
to
terrible film.
smucking. And then
Okay.
so I recognize there's some ideas that maybe we're getting recycled or we're coming from the original or coming from the weirdo brains of the people making this movie. They're saying we can do whatever we want. Let's have fun with it. So that's fine. But it's baffling that soundtrack has some very bizarre choices on it.
Sky Cries Mary, a band that I had no idea existed, has like a banger shoegaze song on here. And that's the most Courtney Love thing ever, right? That just smacks of Courtney Love just is like, oh yeah, there was this one song that I fucking loved. We're putting it on here, even if nobody can find the band. It was awesome. I love this. I love
you think about things
soundtrack.
that are and you gotta, and the soundtrack, that's what I knew this movie from the soundtrack.
Ice-T also on the soundtrack.
Oh, or we
got to double dip on this one.
We actually got to have an original Ice-T song on this. And that scene where she drops in, where Tank Girl drops in to shoot everybody up.
And they play it it's the third, the credits are so long, they have the third song on the credits. We talked about this before. It's one of my favorite things. What do you put there? They chose Ice-T, and I think it's awesome.
It was great. It's great to have that. And it's definitely better than the use of Always Wanted to Be a Hoe in Corrupt, where they used too much of the song in too much of the movie, and it's also a very bad song.
Totally agree.
Totally and really agree. Wildly, that's only 4 years difference in terms of the two songs. So the quality of the music being that poor for that one. But again, that movie Corrupt is an absolute,
it's a poor film.
Horrendous film.
Yeah.
Where this one is not horrendous.
Again, don't watch that one, please.
So
Tank Girl, I would say watch
Tank Girl. Yeah. Well, I think we have
just don't care.
We have an obligation though, because obviously we spent a lot of time talking about this movie, but we really do need to talk about Ice-T in this.
Let's do it
together. So
that was my clever segue, was to mention that in the soundtrack.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm pretty good at this job. Oh, all of a sudden you like me again.
Well, he's saying it out loud actually makes it seem less clever. It seems a little arrogant.
It makes you seem less clever because you didn't see it.
Did you know that he claims to have made $800,000 for his work on this film?
No.
So he was
interviewed. Did know. Okay, go ahead.
He was interviewed by somebody once who was sort of kind of making fun of him for having done the film, and he was just like, "I made $800,000 to do that movie."
If he had said $75,000, that's, you got me.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I would have taken it for that. And he made 800,000. He also, when he was asked, so the things they had to wear were really cumbersome.
Yeah.
And they were so weird and weirdly designed that they had to be controlled by two people off screen.
For the ears.
The faces and the ears were controlled off screen. They didn't say their own lines. They came in later and recorded.
They did ADR'd it. Okay.
Yeah. So they've got these, they've got these giant machines on their heads.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked him, somebody on the crew said that Ice-T never complained. He just came to work. He did his job. He said he was shocked that his character was actually what it was when he arrived. Well, they'll change that, obviously. I'll take it. And they didn't change anything. He was just a crazy, angry, half kangaroo man.
The only non-horny Ripper.
That's right.
He was all business. He was all violence. He was no interest in these two women who showed up.
None. When they asked him why he never complained about the costumes or the workload, his response, better than prison. 3 words, 3 magic words, better than prison.
Yeah.
What, am I going to argue with that? No, absolutely not. He's going to pay $800,000 to wear a kangaroo costume. Hell yeah.
Ice-T has consistently cashed checks for his entire career.
Correct.
In music, in movies, television. He has consistently cashed checks. This man plays European festivals with Body Count. Just because maybe you don't follow Body Count, listener, you may not have kept up with what he's doing. That band has continued to play shows and they sell records. They're not signed to a major label. They make more money probably off those records than they made back in the
He knows how to cash a check.
In the bodyguard days. He cashes checks consistently.
And I'll tell you what, you do a movie with the guy that did Terminator, Aliens, and Predator. I don't care how bad it is. I don't. Like, it's going to be fine.
Who says no?
Good idea.
Who says no to a big payday for a Hollywood film that's a comic book film after all these really successful ones? You know, he'd had a bad experience with the studio system for surviving the game, you know, for his first thing. So, like, yeah, it is a bit frustrating as a fan to have to wait basically an hour into this film before we actually meet him and meet his character.
Yeah,
but he deserves the billing he got on the film. He deserves to have a billing up there, second only to, you know, Lori Petty. Like, absolutely deserves that. You know, even though he's not even the leader of the Rippers, but that's the kind of star he was.
The Rippers
and the command he could have.
The Rippers are a society. They do not have a leader, is what they say.
Yeah, well, they say committee.
They have a creator.
Yeah.
And
Johnny Prophet.
And they have a dude that is smart, but also is a bad poet. And then, you know, an average sax player.
I was gonna say, what did you feel about his jazz chops? Was he
you know,
you're the jazz guy.
I'm
sure you have. I'm sure you have.
But also, I mean, it took two people to control the head of this costume off stage. So in any given moment, 3 people were in control of that Ripper.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's pretty good. You guys did a good job.
Especially when it comes to the point where they have to, like, actually, you have to see them in action, and you see them basically all going through like Predator and going through and just annihilating all these water and power guys.
It was like seeing 6 Predators. It was awesome.
Yeah. The only thing is that, you know, obviously with the corners that get cut on this film, there are multiple times in that sequence where I can see wires attached to all of those guys. Like, you see the wire on the backs of each of these guys, like more than once. It's not like they missed it once. This is like,
I mean, there's a reason Naomi Watts is ashamed of the film.
Yes. There's a reason why she's like,
she came right out. I was like, I'm ashamed that movie exists.
I mean, Naomi Watts
because it could have been great.
Naomi Watts has made some, like, really amazing films. It's kind of like, you know, Jennifer Aniston doesn't acknowledge Leprechaun.
Real talk. That makes sense.
So, you know, and Jennifer Aniston is like one of the most bankable people in Hollywood.
Totally.
You know? I think Murder Mystery 2 is #1 on Netflix right now. So she can still do it.
#2 on Netflix.
#1 on Netflix.
Have you seen the first one?
No, I haven't. We might need to. I feel like we might need to.
You're not going to let me go on it. I already know. You're going to want to watch this film with me.
We have to watch both of them if we're going to do that.
The director cast some random person that she knew, some professor at UCLA or something.
Okay.
He asked to be in the movie. Maybe he was a fan. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
This movie, other than Lori Petty and the director, everyone else has this incredible resume coming out the other side. This guy taught the South Park creators.
Oh.
And the South Park creators made a regular on the show.
No shit.
Just like not him, but a character based on him is on the show. I mean, it's just the weirdest thing. Everyone who worked this. Ice-T goes on to get SVU and is on screen every week. Every day. If you want to find SVU,
he's on right now.
You can find it right now.
Right now.
On
wherever
cable,
you are, on
somewhere.
Cable.
It's on.
Right now.
You can watch it.
And if for some reason when you're listening to this, it's not on,
and if you catch the end of one, don't worry. There's 74 more coming up before they show an Owen Wilson movie.
Can we talk about casting for a sec? Because again, please. I feel like Ice-T is underutilized in this film as part of the
Agreed.
crew. You know, he has a little bit more range than we have seen in some of these previous films. He's angry, he's skeptical, but he's doing less of the kind of quippy one-liners in this, which in some extent is a shame, but also just like he felt a little more fleshed out as a person, which is funny because he was like talking kangaroo. But I would have loved to see more of him as things went on in the film. I would have liked to see that.
I think that's a casualty of these shitty cuts too, because like I know for a fact that like in the comics, the reason they clash is because he's like kind of chauvinistic and doesn't.
Okay.
He doesn't think that women can lead a successful insurrection.
Mm-hmm.
And so while you can infer that here, you can't actually bank on it because it's not shown.
No.
He just like comes up with a plan and they're like, let's just make it a smash and grab job, and then they go instead of having like an actual conversation.
It would have been a better contrast. It would have been a better contrast between the like horny, gawky guys that are everywhere in this film.
It's and this like, dude that is very distrustful and like stuck in his way, like a real character, another real character.
Something that maybe to see that, At the same time,
turns out like, this like group of super soldiers is a bunch of pushovers who are like, just like will do anything.
That
are told. It's crazy,
especially by anybody who seems to be able to wrangle them and just get their attention.
Right, just like if you just talk to them, they'll do whatever you want. They're mercenaries.
But apart from that thing, I want to say the casting again. Iggy Pop as the creeper who's like wants the schoolgirl fantasy at I guess that was just some kind of brothel.
Yeah.
I think I may have been.
Why did they go there?
To get the girl.
Right.
To get the 10-year-old girl back, to get her back.
Right.
They go there.
And she is just like working in a mill or something.
Yeah, she's washing the clothes of the people who work in the brothel, basically. That's what she's there to do. They basically stuck her in the laundry there. But Iggy Pop, who again, like it's a wild thing to see him in there. And then of course I always know from the same period, I guess 96 is The Crow, City of Angels, and he's like the second biggest bad in that film. He's not the big bad. He's the second biggest bad in that. So he was in this like comic book space for sure. And look, the proto-punk Godfather, everybody wants to have Iggy Pop around if he wants to be around. But 100%. Fucking James Hong is in this movie.
Yeah.
In one scene basically. Well, two, I guess. But like one scene, you see James Hong in, and James Hong shows up, and it is a fucking delight. And yes, I know, like, obviously Everything Everywhere All at Once like just won the Oscar. We're all like really happy about that. I love that film, but like
at that time we weren't getting a lot of Hong.
And we got such little of him in there, but it's such a reminder that he was a utility player in so many things. They need somebody Asian of a certain age to come in and be something for them. And like you see him show up in all sorts of movies in this way, and like sometimes it's painful to watch. This was not one of them. Him as this sort of cybergenic plastic surgery.
Like, these people are like trying to survive.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like these were survivalists and like kind of dumb paramilitary dudes. It's strange too. One of the dudes that was cast is like he was on that West Wing show and won, I think, an Emmy.
Okay.
On that show. Like it's really weird. Like the casting is deep and complex. There's a lot of like faces in there. Like, this was the first real movie for Watts.
Yep.
It was supposed to be a big star turn for Lori Petty.
Sure.
Ice-T is getting like a really cool role in this as well.
Yeah.
This was supposed to be a launcher, I feel like a launch pad.
Yeah.
And like comic movies were really big at that juncture. Not like they are now, but bigger than they ever were.
Yeah, this is pre-Spider-Man and pre the whole MCU business, pre-Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, the Sam Raimi stuff. Like before that all happens there. But like it kills me because it's like you look at Ice-T and Lori Petty, and they both kind of have suffered from the at the hand of studios and all this. And obviously Ice-T recovered very well and was on TV and continues to be on TV as one of the most enduring stars of one of the longest running shows of all time. That's like, so he wins. He wins ultimately.
Sure.
But these studios didn't know what to do with these people. So Lori Petty ends up, relegated basically to TV and smaller roles for the rest of her career. He never gets to be the big part again. Ice-T, and this is something that's going to come up. Like this was an interesting period for Ice-T. So this is like post Surviving the Game, but he has a handful of what I imagine were well paid, supporting and smaller roles, because Tank Girl and Johnny Mnemonic are all basically the same period.
I guess we probably should just watch that one next, because that's another one I feel like got that treatment of this is cool, hip, edgy, it takes some chances, and they came in and were like, well, all these sharp edges will be rounded off no matter what happens to the film.
And if you want to talk about a movie that does it right, Johnny Mnemonic is and I say this, it is among my favorites of the period. I can't wait. It is a great film. Ice-T is fantastic.
But I have not seen it in a while.
Ice-T is fantastic in it.
I do see Ice-T. I go play a lot of pinball, and the Johnny Mnemonic table is not far from me, and he's right there on the screen. You can activate him in the game, and he talks. Ice-T talks on the Johnny Mnemonic.
This
is something we can cover during a Johnny Mnemonic episode, though.
We absolutely should. That might be
I love bringing up pinball.
No, I think that might end up being our next one, because I think it is a good pairing with Tank Girl. Tank Girl shows what happens when studios get involved and take a really wild concept and put it in. And Johnny Mnemonic is William Gibson gets that opportunity to make a movie, and he makes a cyberpunk film that is wild, and there's some really interesting choices in there.
Cool thing about it is, no matter how much they tried to round the edges of this film, it was going to be like, it was made wild and free, and it was going to be wild and free. There's nothing they could do to stop it from being wild.
So I want to give credit to Ice-T when we talk about on our next episode, when we talk about that film and we think about this one in that context, is that he didn't just make easy decisions. He took risks. He chose interesting movies that went against type. It went against what would have been his comfort zone. He could have made more movies.
A million
New Jack, Trespass. He could have done a lot of stuff in that world. Instead, he's like, I'm going to do my version of The Deadliest Game. Man is Deadliest Game. I'm going to do this weird indie comic book movie. I'm going to do Johnny Mnemonic, where it's like, okay, yes, like Keanu Reeves was a big star at that point, but it's a wild idea from one of like sci-fi's most like visionary writers, but doesn't always translate well from the page to a screen. Johnny Mnemonic.
It's hard. I mean, like, that's why they were
these are great choices.
Right? Yeah. Like you write visionary shit and then somebody else recreates it. It's not gonna be as visionary. It's just how it goes.
But like, think about, these are the choices. I mean, think about the scripts that Ice-T probably got at that period of time. And he's like, I want to do Tank Girl and I want to do Johnny Mnemonic.
How much will we have to pay somebody to take the original footage and re-edit this movie?
A lot more than we have. But the thing is like, if it exists in some form, if it exists in some form, it's going to happen. Someone's going to rediscover this and throw some money behind it. And I will be right there.
The time is now.
Yeah.
This movie was a pretty decently representative film.
Yeah.
It was, the message being, no matter what the circumstances, there's going to be women and there's going to be wild shit going on.
Yeah.
That's really what's going on in this movie.
Yeah.
There's some women and there's some wild shit going on. And they're bossing it through the whole movie.
And if for some reason you're listening or watching this and you sort of are still on the fence, the one thing I can convey to you is this is the only film in the history of cinema where Ice-T plays a kangaroo man, and for that reason alone, this movie deserves 1 hour and 44 minutes of your life.
McDowell too.
McDowell's
we didn't talk much about McDowell, but that's a wild get for this film, and one that like rewards a lot. He's basically just Dr. Claw from the Inspector Gadget cartoon.
Essentially, yes.
And it's great. It's so fun and ridiculous. The glass scene was wildly uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable.
And and long. They were like, nah, man, you got to see this. Sorry.
Walking on broken glass.
Got to.
And then he walks on the broken glass.
He does.
That scene is so crazy.
In a very real way, this movie fucking ripped.
Guys, please watch this movie.
You should watch this movie.
It's on Tubi right now, which means it's free. It's a couple commercials. It won't cost you anything to watch.
You know what the fun thing is? The commercials froze for mine.
Oh, really?
So I didn't get any commercials. I just went straight through. It froze on the first commercial break. It froze, and then the movie started, and then I just wasn't allowed to see how much time had lapsed, which was fine.
Okay.
It was something it was worth it. So yeah.
You might not even have to watch it with commercials.
You might not even have to. If you get lucky like me, life's really just been shining down on me lately.